The final race of the weekend for the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup here at Circuit Nevers de Magny-Cours. The penultimate meeting of the Ultimate Cup Series is about to get underway. But as you can see, very different conditions to what we've had for the first three races of the weekend. Race 1 yesterday was set in the beautiful orange sunset in the Nevers region. We've had 2 overcast races so far today, but now the weather has well and truly arrived, and wet tyres will be the order of the day for the drivers who are about to contest this 25-minute race. And once again, it is the Ginetta GTX from CMR of Lawrence Tomlinson who will be starting on pole position. He's just been out qualifying that car with his son Freddie for the Ultimate GT Endurance Cup, which is due to start tomorrow. Also, Loic Thiers has been doing so as well in the GP Racing Porsche that starts on the front row of the grid with him. As has Stefan Perrin in the 888 car, but they are actually using a different chassis for the 2 series at Seb Ligier Racing. And we've just had confirmation that the start will be behind the safety car. So we had that for the Legends Cup France race that just ran, and for the Ultimate Formula Cup race that ran just before as well, where the weather did start arriving, and so the trend has continued with safety car starts for the day, hoping things dry up a little bit before the start of the European Endurance Prototype Cup race immediately after this race, the 4-hour. That is to come for the LMP3, and MPO2 machinery. But for now, we focus on the GT Sprint Cup. As you can see, Loic Thiers has already made his way into his grid spot. His race in this morning in race number 2 ended prematurely. He was leading Porsche Cup, battling away with Cesar van der Westen when he pitched the car into a spin at the Grande Curve and into Estoril and ended up nosing the barriers. So a bit of work done to get that car ready for the GT Endurance qualifying and indeed for this race as well. It's been a difficult weekend for the GP Racing team with Loic's teammate Gabriel Pimont picking up a drive-through penalty in race 1 for hitting the back of Lyle Schofield. That has had a number of consequences for the UCS3 championship leader and indeed the championship battle, as well as Lyle Schofield and his teammate, the man who shares the 353 SR&R Ferrari 8 Challenge with Lorenzo Monteiro, who's in the car for this race. Monteiro has been able to close in slightly, and Schofield getting slightly more of the bad luck with some gearbox troubles in race number 3 earlier on today. And so the points gap for Lyle Schofield has come down significantly. We were thinking about crowning him champion this weekend, but one incident in race number 1 has really turned things on its head, and it's almost certain that it will go down to Paul Ricard in a few weeks' time. Of course, we were also hoping to crown Francesco Azzori overall champion, but he's not here. So definitely those 2 championships will go down to the wire. Porsche Cup as well, with Carl van der Westen, the pre-event championship leader, not racing this weekend. He's on rally duty, so Caesar is representing the van der Westens solo this weekend. There is that number 14 car you can see from To Be Autosport that lines up on the 2nd row of the grid. We'll have the outside line for the Grande Curve when we get going. This Ford GT was victorious in race number 3 overall at the hands of Hugo Chevalier. Now it is Eric Debard at the wheel of the number 60 Debard Automobiles by a Racetivity car, originally supposed to be a Mercedes DTM car, the ex-Lucas Auer chassis that Debard has in his garage, but it was too noisy for the circuit, and so they dug the Ford GT out, and so that is the ex-Matak Thomas Much car that raced in the GT3 European Championship back in 2007. And Eric Debard once again sharing the grid with daughter Carla, who starts alongside him, in fact, in her debut in the Porsche Cup category, going from 6th position overall. Breaking news from the grid, which is that the 353 car, Lorenzo Monteiro, is not on the grid. And so that means that Lorenzo will score no points. And that is some reprieve for Lyle Schofield in terms of the UCS3 championship battle. But let's go down to the grid anyway, because Claire Cottingham has found our pole sitter.
I have indeed. I feel like I'm speaking to you a lot this weekend. Conditions changed obviously from earlier today. How confident are you in this wet?
Well, it's not a bad thing seeing you, Claire. So, yeah, we did the qualifying, Freddie and I, for the endurance. So I've had a little bit of running, and it's really, really slippery out there. Really slippery. Same for everybody. The Ginetta's very good in the wet, and I'm hopeful. As long as I keep it on the black stuff, I should be okay.
That's the main thing. Just a quick word on your son as well. Freddie's done impressively, considering he wasn't even here yesterday. He's done a really good job so far, hasn't he, in other categories?
Yeah, Freddie's done well in GT4, but he's coming. We just we're on pole, which is great for the main endurance race, just me and him. So we're having some good fun together. It's really great.
All right, well, good luck in this one.
Thanks, Claire. Cheers.
We will see Lawrence, of course, back. Thank you so much for holding my umbrella for me, and that's wonderful of an engineer to hold an umbrella. I've got to get off the grid now. These cars are going racing here at Magny-Cours. It's the sprint race for the GTs. Let's get going.
Let's get going indeed, and good point there from Lawrence. He's already experienced the wet conditions out there. The rain has been sort of on and off since then, so it won't be exactly the same as it was during his GT endurance qualifying outing, but nonetheless, he certainly goes into this with a little bit more experience of the conditions than the majority of the drivers out there. And, as he said, the Ginetta's been running very well in the wet, and pole position for the endurance race tomorrow has certainly proved that. Then you can see the Porsche Cup battle running very strong, and so it's uninterrupted now with Lorenzo Montiero. He was splitting the 3rd and 4th place cars in that category, but with the SR&R car absent from the grid, those 4 Porsche Cup cars are now line astern effectively in the order. And Carla and Eric Debard, father and daughter, sharing the grid as we mentioned. And the UCS4 battle continues as well. Francois Denis has 2 victories to his name so far this weekend, adding to the 2 he had in the Trofeo GTS round in Portimao. But will be closely followed by Pierre Aru, who took the race 2 victory this morning. Francois Denis had a spin on the first lap in that race, so but made amends with victory in race 3 earlier on. Adrian Stern has had 2 podiums to his name as well. Pierre Roux's been present on the podium in all 3 races so far this weekend. Pace car peels away, and it'll be the green flag that gets this race underway. And so we are under safety car conditions. There is no formation lap, so the clock starts ticking now, and this will just give the drivers a little bit of time to experience the conditions before we go at speed. And so we'll run you through the grid while we are under safety car conditions. Lawrence Tomlinson starts on pole position in the number 12 CMR Ginetta GTX car that was victorious at the hands of Tomlinson in race number 2 earlier today. Loic Thiers is alongside him on Porsche Cup pole position for the GP Racing team. Then comes Stefan Perrin for Seb Lejeune Racing, and Cesar van der Westen, our race 2 Porsche Cup winner. 3rd in category, a gap where Lorenzo Montiero should be. Then comes Carla Debard, completing her Porsche Cup debut weekend. Although she's dropped back a little bit, although I think she is regaining her position on the grid there. So just dropped back a little bit in the first sector. Behind her is her father, Eric Debard, in the Ford GT. Expect that to make a little bit of forward progress. Patrick Michelier in the only remaining Ferrari 488 Challenge now, this one from CMR. Then our UCS4 pole sitter, Francois Denis, 2-time winner already so far this weekend. Race 2 winner Pierre Aru starts directly behind him for Herrero Racing. Our UCS light pole sitter, Maxime Courtemanche, in the drive-in Ligier JS2R. That car has won all 3 races in class so far this weekend. Olivier Huet, the former French Caterham champion in the 303 speed car Ginetta G50 in UCS4. Then comes Marine Perdue in the midget. That's a UCS light car. Rounding out the grid, Adrian Stern in the CMR number 6 Ginetta G56 Evo version of the Ginetta GT4 car. So it's a Ginetta sandwich, front and rear, with Lawrence Tomlinson and Adrian Stern. Both from CMR as well, actually. So it's a CMR Ginetta sandwich on the grid. The driver's just getting the opportunity to feel the grip out there. There hasn't been an awful lot of it. It's been a very wet couple of hours here at Circuit Magny-Cours. Everyone's told me that, the forecast said it was dry. You never pay attention to that at Magny-Cours. So Tomlinson there, looked like he was creating a bit of a gap to the pace car, but the safety car lights are still on, so we will go for a second lap under safety car conditions. So far that car on pole position that he has been sharing with Gregory Drio, the former Dams team boss. Has had all the UCS3 wins, but Gregory Drio second overall in race number 1 yesterday, and then earlier today was third on the road after a great last lap pass right here in the middle of Estoril corner on Cesar van der Westen, but he picked up 10 seconds worth of time penalties for track limits abuses, so that demoted him to a 5th place finish overall. And so far the 888 car from Seb Lejeune Racing that starts in 4th position at the hands of Seb Lejeune has won overall after a ABS issue for the Ford GT that was romping clear at the hands of Hugo Chevalier yesterday. So it was Seb Lejeune victorious in race 1, and he backed that up with 2nd position overall behind Chevalier in race 3 earlier on, and once again with the Porsche Cup victory. That 888 car at the hands of Stefan Perrin, who's now at the wheel of the car, was 2nd in Porsche Cup in race 2 earlier, with Carla de Bard getting her first Porsche podium. And next year, both the Ultimate GT Sprint and GT Endurance races will count towards Porsche's overall Drivers' Championship, where they combine every single championship that Porsche machinery is available in, where they have their overall champion crowned at the Night of Champions. Lots of announcements coming last night in the annual press conference. The Ultimate GT Sprint Cup reducing the number of categories, so we'll lose UCS Light effectively, but they will still be able to race in UCS 4 with Ferrari Challenge machinery joining Super Trofeo machinery in UCS 2. So slightly tidying up the classes. We will be once again extending our relationship with Goodyear, as well as the tyre supplier was new for this year, and they will continue for both the GT Sprint and Endurance series. But as you can see, the safety car lights are off, and Lawrence Tomlinson is backing the pack up, but now he has decided to put his foot to the floor on the way into Virage de l'Ice, and just about gets it stopped for the right-hander, but still there is no overtaking before they get to the timing line. So he was safe in terms of keeping his position. Green flags now waved around the circuit. Cesar van der Westen pulls out of the spray immediately in 3rd position there, trying to get a good view of the Grand Curve, which they swing into for the first time. Carla de Bard going wide into the first corner, and that allows Eric de Bard, her father, through, I think, on the inside. Yes, the Ford GT does make up overall position into 5th. And the top 3 in the Porsche Cup, you can throw a blanket over the 3 cars as they roar up towards the Adelaide hairpin for the first time of asking. And once again, Cesar van der Westen flashing the lights. He has been busy on the flash button in that 2B Autosport car all weekend long. But here comes Stefan Perrin trying to get on the inside of the Adelaide hairpin, and the Seb Lejeune racing car does go through into 2nd position in the Porsche Cup category and 3rd overall, and demotes our race 2 winner Cesar van der Westen. See Patrick Michelier giving Carla de Bard close company through the hairpin. Stefan Perrin looking very comfortable in the early stages of this race, and now trying to go around the outside of the Porsche Cup race leader through the 180-degree corner. It doesn't quite work. It does open up the door for Cesar van der Westen to get on the inside, but it gives the Seb Ligier racing car an excellent exit out of the corner, and before they even get to the Imola chicane, the AAA car of Stéphane Perrin takes the lead in Porsche Cup. Incredible first lap here under racing conditions for Stéphane Perrin, who has romped clear and now up into second position overall. So remarkable stuff. That AAA car that is taking part in the endurance race as well. Now Cesar van der Westen trying to usurp the Porsche Cup pole sitter as well, and on the run towards Virage de l'Ice, he gets back into second position in the Porsche Cup category. Another Ford GT has arrived on the scene as well. At Stéphane Perrin, the 51-year-old Frenchman, in the lead of Porsche Cup, the French Fun Cup champion. It was part of Seb Ligier Racing's GTE lineup in Portimao. The Ford GT arriving on the scene. Now Eric Tabard trying to make up overall position, but wrestling the wheel of that car as he tries to unleash the NASCAR Ford engine. And he should be able to get the run here on Leclerc. On the run down towards, that is Marine Pidou off in her speed car prepared midget at what looks to be Estoril corner, sadly. And look at Stéphane Perrin, he's closed right up onto the race leader as down the inside goes Eric Tabard on Loic Thiers for fourth position overall. Runs out slightly wider, and Thiers tries to get the up and under with maybe more grip off the racing line in these conditions, but there was no way through. But yeah, Stéphane Perrin set the fastest lap of the race last time around, and the gap was 1.4 seconds to Lawrence Tomlinson at the start of the lap. It is not that now, as there is Marine Pidou going back on her way. It wasn't at Estoril corner, it was at the Virage de l'Ice corner at the end of the lap, and sadly she is pulling into pit lane, so her return to the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup is going to end slightly earlier than she had hoped for. The TikTok famous midget racer we're always happy to see out in the paddock. She brings such a wonderful joy and energy to these races, and if you haven't checked out her TikTok, then I highly suggest you do. It's very entertaining. Race leader Lawrence Tomlinson heading towards the end of the lap, but still very closely followed by Stéphane Perrin in the Porsche Cup car. The gap was 1.4 seconds at the start of the lap as Tomlinson lights up the rear Goodyears coming out of the chicane. The gap now 1.1. And again, a fastest lap of the race from Stéphane Perrin, who took a quarter of a second out of our race leader. Eric Tabard just going through picture as well, chasing after Cesar van der Westen, but last time around was a second slower than the 2B Autosport driver. Also on that lap, Patrick Michelier getting ahead of Carla Tabard. Another off this time for the other UCS light car. We're barely going to have any UCS light cars left in this race, but the Ligier does manage to continue on. Maxime Courtemanche. That was at Virage de l'Ice as well, and so that has me thinking there's quite a bit more water down there than elsewhere on the circuit. But the top two still very closely matched. Gap down to 1 second through the first sector, and Tomlinson wrestling that Ginetta through the exit of the Nürburgring chicane and into the 180-degree corner. Fastest first sector just been set by Eric Tabard using that Ford GT power. He is up into fourth position now, but look how much the Porsche closes in the middle sector. Seems like the Ginetta has a straight line speed advantage, but the Porsche running very well in the twisty bits, much like we see in Porsche Cup versus Ferrari Challenge competition here in the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup. Porsches have definitely had a pace advantage over the Ferraris so far this weekend at Magny-Cours. These conditions are just going to play into the hands of the Porsche as well. Big closing speed under braking for Virage de l'Ice, and look how much spray is coming off of the Ginetta and the Porsche. It's closed right up again, both struggling for grip on the exit of the final corner. The gap now just half a second as Stéphane Perrin took another 0.6 of a second out of the race leader, but the fastest lap of the race going to Eric Debard in the Ford GT, 1/10 of a second quicker than Stéphane Perrin in second position. And is now right with the man second place in the Porsche Cup and third overall. He runs wide in the middle of Estoril, and that turns out to be an easy pass for Eric Debard into third position overall now. So you can hear the turbo spool from some of the cars. I think that was from the Ginetta. Everyone very much avoiding the racing line, as in these conditions you find most of the grip off the traditional racing line, the karting line as they like to call it, and the drivers are definitely exploring where the grip is. Gap came back out again in the first sector as Stéphane Perrin lost those 0.6 of a second that he gained on the previous lap just in the first sector alone, so the gap back up to 1.1 seconds. Debard really hugging the inside line in the earlier part of the 180-degree corner at turn 9. I have a feeling this lead gap's going to ebb and flow quite nicely. Just give you an update further down the grid. Francois Denis continues to lead in UCS 4, 13 seconds clear of Pierre Aru, so he's on course for a third victory of the weekend, but with Pierre Aru continuing his 100% record of podium finishes so far this weekend. So Lawrence Tomlinson hops over the curbs at the final chicane and continues to stretch his advantage now, 1.9 seconds over Stéphane Perrin. So Perrin really came out of the blocks running, but Tomlinson has been able to return the serve. Debard once again setting the fastest lap of the race, the only man in the 159s at the moment, a 59.1. And he is 4 seconds off the back of Stéphane Perrin for second position overall. Stéphane Perrin, not just the Fun Cup racer, as we mentioned, but a winner of the Mugello 12 Hours in the Creventic Series, also a TCE winner of the Dubai 24 Hours on 2 occasions. Certainly knows how to handle GT and touring car machinery. This is in UCS 4, Olivier Huet, the French Caterham champion in the G50 version of the Ginetta GT4, prepared by Speedcar, chasing the Herrera Racing Audi for second position in class. Pierre Aru, multiple race winner in class so far this year. Former Legends racer who's had that Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner livery since his first Legends Cup race back in 2008. So they make their way through Estoril. And Olivier Huez in that speed car prepared Ginetta is significantly closer now. The 67-year-old Frenchman chasing his countryman, who is the championship leader in UCS 4 going into this weekend. But this is the race leader, Francois Denis, in UCS 4. And he has very much been the quickest driver in the field, has been with us in Hockenheim and in Portimao, and is second in the UCS 4 category going into this weekend. Has doubled the number of UCS 4 wins he's had so far this weekend, and could well be adding a 5th to his name. The battle for second in class has really spread out there, with Olivier Huet dropping back from the Audi. And as expected, Eric Debard very much closing in now on Stéphane Perrin for second position overall. The Ford GT on a bit of a recovery drive. Don't think it was the best qualifying for Eric Tabard. Remember, it's the second fastest times that set the grid for this one. So it's all well and good getting your one banker lap in, but you need to have two good ones as well. And Tabard now lapping in the 58. He's the only driver at sub 2 minute. So by far and away the quickest car out on track at the moment. And as you can see, race leader Lawrence Tomlinson is only just up the road by 4 seconds. And with just under 8 minutes left on the clock, there's still every chance that Eric Tabard could make it back-to-back victories for the Tabard Automobiles team after Hugo Chevalier managed it in race 3 earlier today. And that's Stéphane Perrin covering the inside of Chateau d'Eau. Look how much more speed the Ford has, practically pushing Perrin out of the corner and on the run towards Virage de l'Ice. Wouldn't be surprised if the Ford draws alongside here, or maybe has a look up the inside into the right-hander. Well, Tabard thinks better of it. And so we follow the leader through the chicane. Dab of opposite lock as he came out of Virage de l'Ice for Eric Tabard. He is just half a second behind Stéphane Perrin, pulls out of the spray, and on the inside of the Grand Curve, Stéphane Perrin being very reasonable with Tabard, and the Frenchman goes through into second position. Tabard, who celebrated his 60th birthday yesterday, hence the number 60 on the car. What a treat on his birthday weekend to have an overall victory. The gap is just under 4 seconds. And we have 6.5 minutes left on the clock. It's game on once again between the Ginetta and the Ford GT. A big slide as Tabard tried to get on the power, and even about halfway down the quote-unquote straight towards the Nürburgring chicane, Tabard was spinning up the rear wheels and in fact has to cut the inside of the left-hand element of the Nürburgring chicane and is struggling to get that car slowed down. I hope this is not a repeat of the ABS issues that Hugo Chevalier suffered in race 1 yesterday. As we were looking around that car yesterday, all the buttons that you'd expect to see on the steering wheel of a contemporary race car are all on the dashboard and on the center console of this Ford GT. It is from 2007, remember. Only 4 buttons on that steering wheel. The headlight flash, the drinks button, the pit lane speed limiter, as again, a huge swapper for Eric Tabard, this time out of Chateau d'Eau. You can tell he is pushing out there. This is great to watch, and I'm sure that car is proving to be quite the handful in these conditions. Race leader ticks off another lap. Lawrence Tomlinson again kicking out the back end out of the chicane. 5 minutes to go. What is the gap? It is 3.1 seconds. So once again, 1.3 seconds taken. 0.6 of a second taken out of the race leader, excuse me. So Tabard's closing in. Leaders heading up towards the Adelaide hairpin. They are leaving Stéphane Perrin behind now. It's amazing because Perrin was so quick, so much confidence at the start of the race. Two very different lines being used by Tomlinson and Tabard through the hairpin, and Tabard again has a massive swapper on the exit of the Adelaide hairpin. I'm not entirely sure that his wider line there through the apex of the Adelaide hairpin was entirely deliberate. So we have 4 minutes left on the clock as Tabard continues to close in on Lawrence Tomlinson. Still it is Perrin, Van der Westen and Thiers, the lineup in the Porsche Cup category. But fastest middle sector now being set by Eric Depard, who's now right with the race leader. He took more than a second out of Lawrence Tomlinson. I wonder if that was slightly traffic induced, and it was one of the CMR cars that they were rounding up as well. I think that was Adrian Stern that they were trying to round up in that middle sector. And so the irony of a CMR prepared Ginetta holding up the race leader, another CMR Ginetta being driven by the Ginetta CEO. And so Eric Depard, with 3 minutes left on the clock, is now right with the race leader. But that will only be 2 laps to go at current pace, because it's only just under 2 minutes that the fastest man on track, Eric Depard, is lapping in, and he was back in the 158s again. Fastest lap of the race, 58.491. The gap now under 1 second for Eric Depard. And again, Depard sliding and wrestling that car, this time through Estoril. Now that's probably going to compromise his run all the way up to the Adelaide hairpin. We have a 30-second penalty for Cesar van der Westen, second in the Porsche Cup category, for overtaking before the timing line on the restart. And so that is going to drop him quite far down the order, I'd have thought. He might still hang on to the Porsche Cup podium just about. But we'll see when Cesar gets over the timing line. But that is an unfortunate mistake there for Van der Westen, our Race 2 Porsche Cup winner, of course. So the gap coming down ever so slightly in the first sector between Depard and Tomlinson. Now they're going to come up on the Herrera Racing Pierre Aru Audi in the middle sector, heading up towards Chateau d'Eau. Coming out here, the Imola chicane, Tomlinson on the inside. Depard will not be able to make his way through, but he might get the cleaner run on the exit of the corner. But Depard again, heavy on the right foot, slides the Ford GT out of Chateau d'Eau. But it was Tomlinson quicker, actually, in the middle sector. Dramas for Olivier Huez, third in the UCS4 category. Very brave to bring it back into the gravel trap there on the exit of Chateau d'Eau, but he does manage to get it going. So the speed car prepared G50 Ginetta dropping down there. We've seen plenty of drivers having to take to the escape roads in this one. Warning flag now going to Eric Depard for track limit, so he's really got to keep it neat and tidy, but he has a huge swapper in the middle of Estoril, just about kept it within the bounds of the racetrack, but that blue painted curbing on the outside is very slippery, and he has lost heaps of momentum now. The gap 2.8 seconds and growing as we're now on the final lap of the race. So Lawrence Tomlinson now looking much more secure for what should be his second victory of the weekend. Here we're going to see that moment again. And it wasn't in Estoril, excuse me. It was between Virage de Lice and the chicane. He had a huge swapper trying to get on the power. But nonetheless, that gives Tomlinson a very handy advantage. Maybe that was a separate moment, actually, that we just saw on the replay, because the gap's gone out to 5.7 seconds now. Depard lost 3 seconds in the first sector. So, yeah, I do think the replay we just saw was a separate moment. So the first one increased the gap to 2.8, now up to 7 seconds. Wow, it's really come away for Eric Depard in the closing stages of this race. But that's great news for Lawrence Tomlinson, who's setting himself up very nicely this weekend. Of course, starting on pole position with his son Freddie, the British GT4 racer, in this car for the GT Endurance race tomorrow. But for now, as he comes through the final chicane, it is all about victory number 2 of the weekend for Lawrence Tomlinson in the number 12 CMR Ginetta GTX in race 4 of the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup. He closes out the GT Sprint weekend with victory. Eric Depard cruises to the line in the end, 9 seconds adrift, and it is second position for the Depard automobiles by Racetivity Ford GT. Stefan Perrin came out the blocks firing. He comes across the line third overall and the victor in the Porsche Cup category. Cesar van der Westen second on the road, but likely will drop back as a result of his penalty for overtaking before the timing line on the restart. So Loeb should emerge in second position. Yes, he does in the GP Racing Porsche Cup car. We wait to see where Patrick Michelier will emerge. Should just be in sixth position, but will he jump Cesar van der Westen in the timing order? Meanwhile, Francois Denis makes it a third victory of the weekend in UCS4, with Pierre Aru across the line in second position, Adrian Stern in third. And so Pierre Aru does maintain his 100% record of finishing on the podium. Adrian Stern with his third podium, I should say, of the weekend. Maxime Courtemanche 11th across the line in the end. There is Patrick Michelier and Carla Debard. So it will be 6th and 7th overall. Carla and Patrick have spent a lot of time on track together so far this weekend. They've been very evenly matched. Francois Denis will be the last car across the line in UCS 4. But a great race for Lawrence Tomlinson. 9 seconds clear of Eric Debard in the end. Setting himself up very nicely for the GT Endurance race tomorrow. That car has been on the overall podium, well, on the road in all 4 races, but officially 3 times now, with Gregory Drio bringing it home second in race 1 yesterday. So Lawrence Tomlinson brings the CMR Ginetta GTX into pit lane, and will park in front of the number 1 board. And it is victory number 2 with Eric Debard second, his best overall finish of the weekend. Well, matching his best, it's once again Tomlinson and Debard 1-2, as it was in race 2 earlier today. But this time with Stéphane Perrin joining them on the overall podium. So that is the 3rd time this weekend that the Triple Eight car has finished on the overall podium. First time for Stéphane Perrin, though. And a 3rd Porsche Cup victory for the Seb Lejeune Racing Triple Eight car as well. Pat on the back for Lawrence Tomlinson. Pat on the roof from Lawrence Tomlinson as well. Thumbs up as well, and he was confident going into the race. I'm sure he would have been slightly perturbed by the sight of Stéphane Perrin romping up the order in the early stages of the race, and indeed then Eric Debard, but Tomlinson keeping his cool and bringing it home for victory. Congratulations are being offered in Parc Fermé with the Debard Automobiles team and Seb Lejeune Racing as well. And that looked like a wave to, oh no, a sign for the drink, I think, for Lawrence Tomlinson. Thirsty work out there, I'm sure. Claire Cottingham has found our race winner. And in fact, we can head down to Claire Cottingham now, who's with Lawrence Tomlinson.
I am indeed. What was the drink you were looking for there?
Just some water, but I'm going to have a beer. Just a beer later, I think, maybe. Petit pression, as we say.
Some sort of celebration. Another win for you. I mean, you are only guest starring in this championship at the moment, but it's so lovely to see you, and you're really giving a lot of these guys a run for their money, aren't you?
Well, we're just having a great time, really. It's a lovely championship, very friendly. The Ginetta fits in nicely. I've got other Ginettas that are on the grid, so we're just happy to be here and have a great time, to be honest. And saving those tyres in the first race wasn't really sensible, was it now?
Well, in fairness, we didn't know, so it was sensible in some ways, but and you still won, so it's absolutely fine.
Win's a win, take that.
Changing conditions, obviously, out here, and the rain's really starting to come down. Was there any concern?
No, I mean, I was very fortunate in that I did the qualifying with Freddie for the Endurance and it was wet, so I had a little bit of an advantage really because I knew where the grip was. And we could make some changes to the car, so actually the changes to the car were a bit negative actually, but it would have been better with the old car that we had for the one, but it was all right.
Doesn't matter anymore, you got the win. You're on pole position obviously for tomorrow for the Endurance GT as well. How are you feeling about that one?
I just had a great weekend, Claire. It doesn't happen like this all the time, so
I'm not convinced.
no, I'm just gonna enjoy it, and I think Freddie might start tomorrow. I think we'll see. I don't know.
I can see Freddie's there. Freddie, come over. Come on. So this is obviously father and son partnership this weekend. Freddie, you guys are on pole position tomorrow. Has it been fun racing alongside your dad again?
Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's less fun, which obviously makes it interesting. But yeah, we've had a great time racing this year, so it's been really good fun, and we'll push for the win again tomorrow.
And not just that, but you didn't do a lot of testing, and you smashed it out there when you got in the car on the first day.
Yeah, it was obviously tricky with not having any practice here, but the race here last year was wet, so I could sort of remember a bit from last year, so I just pushed in qualifying. We did a good job, so we're starting on pole, and we'll see where we end up tomorrow.
Well, exciting from these guys, of course. The Ginetta absolutely smashing out there. Lawrence, well done.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
I will let you run away from the rain because the rain is really starting to come down, and not a moment too soon because we've got the prototypes coming out next. Do make sure you stay with us because it's going to be a wet one.
Un bon traiteur, c'est être intransigeant sur la qualité. On ne fait du bon qu'avec le meilleur. C'est être impitoyable sur les recettes. Quand c'est bon, il n'y a rien à ajouter, rien à enlever. C'est être irréprochable sur le goût. Il faut prendre du plaisir pour en donner. Voilà, pour être un bon traiteur, il faut être intraitable.
Parfaitement intraitable.